My name's Mia Lullam and this is a short video basically explaining some of the ideas and concepts that we had producing the performance skills 2 work for Jourmana. So linking to the video that the rehearsal video that I've also attached in the folder, the idea was to explore the themes of restriction, heritage, sort of confinement to one space, and that space we chose a chair, which we actually in one part of the video, I don't know whether you can see it, but we actually bound our hands with items of clothing to the chair, and then proceeded to move around it in a sort of like deep contractions, upper body elevation, sort of moving away from the chair, but it was always like really weighted, as if we were carrying something, like dragging sort of this metaphysical thing around with us while we were trying to move, and it was restricting us. And in conversation with Miel, we were thinking of how we felt restricted in our lives before, and we also both share in common the idea of failure being an example. So, you know, we've both had parents that wanted to go into the arts but haven't, and that's the sort of example that we've had. And so looking back on that, we were like, okay, well, that's not a great example to be taking into a drama school, and, you know, how does that impact our experiences of drama school when, you know, that weight that we seem to be carrying of you can't fail, you can't give up, you know, other people have really supported you to get here, you're living their dreams for them, you know, and we sort of physicalize that in the space, in a very sort of confined space. So the beginning of the section that we worked on was a piece that had a very, very sort of monotonous set rhythm, which involved us sort of manipulating our faces in like really weird ways, and also like pulling on our own bodies but still maintaining the same sort of foot tapping rhythm, and we'd do that in unison to show how we were almost like one mass, one body that was moving, no sort of personal identity, just kind of going through the motions, and, you know, sort of reflecting earlier education systems that we've both experienced of not really allowing creativity and being sort of fitted into this shell or this mould of a person or a perfect student in order to achieve. And then there was a break, and we sort of started to work on a slightly sort of comedic part, where we actually did it to the can music, which was really fun to work on, and that was a really, really fast pace sort of practice where we would move away from the chair, include things like forward rolls, counterbalances, be in close contact with each other. So we install some of the lifts that we learn in Jourmana's lessons, so such as the pencil lift, where, you know, one person will be flipped upside down, counterbalances where we were sharing each other's weight, backward rolls into the space. So it was tiring, and it was hard to keep up in rehearsals, which we found quite challenging, but actually, you know, through working with Jourmana and the stuff that we'd learned, it was not too bad. And then the end part, we had 2 chairs next to each other in the space, and we started off by just sitting there in silence and just doing subtle movements where we would slightly shift our weight or move the chair in the space, and that would gradually get bigger until the chairs were on literally opposite sides of the room. They were moving, we were standing on them, turning them round, and then we'd gradually bring them back to the centre, and then take part in this sort of small adjustment. So we might sit on the chair and then just slightly adjust it so that it's perfectly even, and then go perfect, to sort of show how it was perfect the first time, but we didn't quite notice, so we went all around the houses to try and solve this puzzle that we'd created, and then brought it back to the middle, to sort of show how I think as a young person, especially in the arts, we're not taught how to fail. We're not taught the importance of failure. And I think, you know, sort of going on that journey, you physicalising the chairs of trying to find what's perfect and then realising what you had in the first place was perfect. And then, like I said earlier, we moved into the tying of the hands to the chairs, counterbalances, using them as shields. So yeah, it was really fun to work with. We installed all of what Jourmana had taught us about space, time, bodies in the space, the cube, which we learnt because we moved in quite linear pathways, almost in a box-like formation, and explored that space. Yeah, also core strength as well, stamina, especially in the canker part. Yeah, so it was really fun to work on, and hopefully Jourmana gets to see a little part of the rehearsal process. Obviously it's not finished, but part of the process where we were working towards a rough sketch of what it could have been. So yeah.